have a degree now. I went to college, but
Okay.
my mom is Mexican, and my dad was an Irish bricklayer.
Okay.
And we lived in a 1,000 square foot house. 6 of us, sometimes 8 of us at a time, lived there, and 1 bathroom. No air conditioning till I was like 12 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was. I didn't grow up with a lot of money and stuff like that. We did a lot of work.
Okay.
Being a bricklayer, we just worked all the time.
How many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have 2 sisters that are my sisters, but I've had extensive stepsisters and stepbrothers
Okay,
that I
okay.
grew up with. So
Okay.
big family, but my core family was just 2 sisters from my mom and dad. I did get out of high school here in Houston when I joined the Coast Guard. I joined here
Okay.
in 1985 and went straight to boot camp and
Okay.
did my deal there. So I was enlisted. I started out as an E1, and if you don't know what an E1 is, it's the guy that's lower than snail slime. I mean, just if you're at the bottom of the bucket.
You're the maggot.
Yeah, and I think that really ingrained in me a work ethic.
Yes.
Because I know people now that I meet that they kind of grew up, had affluent, they had money and stuff like that,
Mhm.
and they don't really have that work ethic. They don't know what to do when things stop. They don't know how to drum stuff up.
Mhm.
You always got to be able to do something. So I kind of learned that when I was coming up, and then in the Coast Guard, that just taught you respect, for authority and how to handle yourself around peers of all different flavors, and you're all worm dirt, you're all snail slime. So when you go through something like that, it gives you a great respect for everybody because you're all cleaning toilets, you're all having to stand in line, you're all
Right.
having to do all this stuff, and you're just a servant essentially. You're just doing your job. I kind of got lucky in that I always had a motivation to do better in the Coast Guard, so I would take all my tests early and strive to do things. And I'll back up just what really motivated me to join the Coast Guard instead of anything else was when I was 10 years old in Corpus Christi in 1976. The Coast Guard had a demonstration at this fair that they have called Bayfest. It was the first year they ever had it, and I remember seeing this helicopter do the demonstration. They had came out of Corpus, went to the bay, and we were watching, and they hovered and they lowered a guy down and
How
picked up
old
a
were-
dude.
how
I was
old?
10 years old.
10 years old, okay.
Yeah, and I said, man, if I ever joined the military, that would be cool. And then by the time I was 19, 20 years old, that's exactly what I was doing. So after that, it was just Coast Guard, Coast Guard. I got married when I was 22 to a girl in the Coast Guard. We've since divorced, but I kept on striving. So at the age of, I think I was 24, I got selected to go I was in Puerto Rico, that's where I was stationed.
Okay.
And I got selected to go to North Carolina to work in a specialty, which was vibration analysis. So it was only 2 of us in the whole Coast Guard Aviation that did vibration analysis, me and my chief. And so we traveled around the country, Alaska, everywhere we had Coast Guard stations, and we taught people how to do reduction of vibration in dynamic systems, which is aircraft. So I became a real specialist there.
Okay.
At that job, I kept trying to do more and more, and an opportunity came up for what was called a PEP program. It was a pre-commissioning program for enlisted personnel. I fit the bill because I was going to college. I had enrolled in college, and my college was in Virginia, so I was driving after work from North Carolina to Virginia, which was about 80 miles
Wow.
each way to attend class a couple times a week, but I was in a bachelor's program. So this program that I finally got selected for said you had to be in college, you had to be in a 4-year program, you had to be an E5, and you were able to apply. But I had to get a letter from my school saying that I could finish my degree in 2 years. Well, it was only my first year. So I went up there and I said, can I finish if I take like double and triple load? They're like, well, yeah, you can. I said, just put it on the paper then. They're like, well, most people don't do that. I said, I need that to be put on paper, and I need to be able to do it so I can submit.
Right.
They're like, there's no reason you can't, just got a commitment. So I did that, and I got selected for that program. That's how I wound up in officer candidate school and subsequently flight school, and then flying helicopters in the Coast Guard.
Okay. Do you still have a license to fly helicopters?
I do. I'm an airline transport pilot, CFI, and
All right.
all that stuff. I can still fly.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So yeah, the airline pilot that we had on here a couple weeks ago, he was talking. It's just basically like getting a driver's license.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. That never.
The only thing that happens is you age out.
You age out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before I got my pilot's license, though, when I in the Coast Guard, my school, my first job that I went to in training was to be an aircraft mechanic.
Okay.
So in North Carolina, I went to school to be an aircraft mechanic, got stationed in Puerto Rico, then went back to North Carolina to serve as an aircraft mechanic in that vibration analysis deal. So I was a mechanic before I was ever a pilot.
Okay.
And that really helped with systems and things like that, and I'm kind of got an engineering mind. So after I went to officer candidate school, I went through flight training in Pensacola, Florida, where all the naval flight guys go, and the Marine Corps, they all go there.
Right.
I graduated high there, and then I went to Corpus Christi. That was my first station as a pilot.
Okay.
So I talked about it in here in just a couple of minutes. That was 10 years of my 20-year
20
career.
years.
Yeah, here I am a pilot, so I started flying. And again, I wanted to do more. So I put in for one of the more elite programs, which was the aeronautical engineering program. And I got accepted to that program and became an aeronautical engineering officer.
Wow.
So I had a bachelor's degree in aeronautics. I was an aeronautical engineering officer. I was a helicopter pilot. I was a flight instructor. And I did all this stuff in the Coast Guard, and I don't do any flying now.
So did you retire from the Coast Guard?
I did.
You
I
got
retired.
your 20 years in?
Mhm,
That's
I did
great.
that.
Yes.
In 2003, I moved to Houston in 2001
Okay.
from Corpus. And I came up here to be the aeronautical engineering assistant. So I came up here and we rented an apartment for a few months, I guess, and then I bought a house. And when I bought the house, we were going through the whole process of buying, right? And I had houses before, but I never had them inspected. So this house, the real estate agent's like, well, you gotta have it inspected, you need to have it inspected. I'm like, well, I kind of know what I'm looking at. They're like, no, you gotta have it inspected. I said, all right, well, I'll pay for it. So some dude comes over to the house, and he's there for like an hour and a half, and back then they just wrote it on paper, there was no pictures or anything. He charged me $375, and I'm
He didn't do nothing.
like, wait a minute, how many of these can a guy do in a day? What does it take to get your license?
There's that
You know,
entrepreneurial
yeah, I'm like,
side,
I'm
yes.
like, what? I like that business model right there. And by 2003, I had my license, and I had opened up my own business.
So what does it take? So you're a licensed inspector. Are you licensed by the state, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay. So what is the process to get that license? Do I have to have a college degree to get that license?
No.
Okay.
No.
So somebody coming out of high school could actually go out and study this program
Yep.
and get the license. Can you explain what that
Sure.
process is?
Sure. There's two routes, actually. You can do what's called the education route and then challenge the state and national tests. So it used to be, till very recently, they had changed from 126 hours to like 400 and something hours of education to
Okay.
be able to qualify to sit for this test, and you had to do all these ride-alongs and stuff. Now they've brought it back to like, I think it's 210 hours. But you
Okay.
can take all the classes, you can pay for them, you can study, you can do all of that, pass the classes, challenge the state test, and challenge the national test, and you can become a professional real estate inspector.
Okay.
That's one route. The other route is to go and be an apprentice. So you find somebody that's been in the business for a long time and is able to do that for you. They take you on as an apprentice, they train you. You still have to do classes, but not as many, and you still have to take both tests. But once you do that, it's a little faster.
Okay.
You become a real estate inspector. So
Okay.
it goes apprentice, real estate inspector, and then professional inspector, and then what I call a journeyman inspector that can train people. So there's a couple of routes there. I challenged it and I did the testing. I just became a professional. At that point, though, I didn't really know what I was doing, even though I had a license.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of like I have an insurance background, and you walk out of the test, and I'm like, I know the facts about stuff, but how does this play out to explaining it to a real person?
Yeah. And how I coach guys, I get calls all the time because everybody's interested, or a lot of people are interested in becoming inspectors. So they'll look on the list and they'll call, hey, I'm interested in this. I said, okay, I'll pose you with this scenario. How about if I just give you your license? Here, you got it. Now what? What do you mean? I said, who's going to hire you? Do
Right.
you have a license to fly drones? Do you do pest control, termite inspections? Do you have the equipment? So you got to be thinking, but you also have to think way in front of that, because a lot of people that actually get into the inspection business, they wash out because they don't know the business side of it.
Right.
They can go out and kind of do inspections, but they don't know how to make money.
Right.
That's
right.
the hard part.
Like this short clip and want to watch the full interview, you can do so by clicking on the link below. For more short clips, you can click on either of these recommended thumbnails on your screen. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of our new content. Thanks again for watching Career Library.